Part 23. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 221. The Xian family was noisy at this time. The cousin's family was a daughter slave because Xuanyi used their daughter as a fool and didn't care about anything else. She had to give an explanation. Xuanyi's parents were so angry that they wanted to beat him. If it weren't for your stupid daughter, things wouldn't be so bad. Sister-in-law, what you said is ridiculous. If your daughter hadn't been shameless, followed and married her younger brother, was pregnant with a child, treated people like fools, and did such shameless things, she wouldn't have been punished by her husband's family. Get out. Xuanyi's parents were so angry that they almost started fighting if other relatives hadn't pulled them away. At this moment, Xuanji's phone rang, and when he picked it up, it was assistant Luo Cheng who called. Xuanyi's father's face was a little stiff. Before he could speak, he heard the other party say, "On behalf of Mr. Luo Cheng, I formally inform Miss Xuanyi that the divorce procedures will be carried out tomorrow and she will leave the house. If she is not present tomorrow or is entangled again, no matter what the reason is, we will collect evidence to ask for compensation, so please weigh it carefully and take it yourself." After saying that, he hung up the phone without mercy. Xuanyi's father almost lost his footing. Just when he was about to discuss what to do with his daughter, his personal phone kept ringing, calling from the family company. "Mr. The message is that they will not cooperate with any suppliers that will cooperate with our company in the future, so the suppliers have said that they will no longer cooperate next season. What is going on? Is this going to suppress our company?" At this time, Xuanyi's father seemed to hear the sound that the Xuanjia building was about to collapse, and finally couldn't hold on and fainted. The Xian family also heard the news. No one expected Luo Cheng to be so ruthless and move so quickly. He forced the door open, pulled out Xianyi who was secretly venting, and forced her to kneel down and beg for forgiveness. However, Xuanyi couldn't contact Luo Cheng at all, and the Luo family couple was warned and scolded when he contacted her. In the end, she could only scold each other and went crazy with her relatives, causing a scene where ambulances and police cars kept coming and going from the Xian family villa. On the other side, after dealing with Xuanyi's matter, looking at Luo Zhou who was beaten unconscious by his father, Luo Cheng said directly to his parents in a cold voice, "The arrangements will be made to send him abroad tonight, and he will settle abroad in the future. If nothing serious happens, he is not allowed to return to China." Although the parents of the Luo family feel sorry for the eldest brother, they also feel sorry for the second child. Sending him abroad like this is equivalent to sending him away. Do my parents hope that every time my second brother appears in front of others, everyone will think of the scandal of our Luo family? Now the two of them were speechless. In order to prevent him from messing around, we will directly control the assets and provide him with basic living expenses every month. I hope you two will not help him casually. Isn't this too harsh? Zhou has never had a hard time. Isn't it hard to not be luxurious? Don't worry, it's not the case. Doesn't he feel that money has tainted his love? Doesn't he still rely on women to support him outside? I will give him a chance to find true love. Luo Cheng really thinks his brother is stupid. Doesn't he know that every advantage of his charm in attracting women is built up by money? Mom and Dad, because his stupidity will cause immeasurable losses to our Luo family in the future, he deserves this kind of punishment. Yes, if Luo Zhou had said it back then, they would never let Luo Cheng and Xuanyi get married under any circumstances, and there would not be the current scandal. Seeing that his parents did not object, Luo Cheng exhaled. After all, he had not done everything right, but don't worry, if one day he can achieve something with his own abilities and make people forget the stupid things he has done, I will let him come back. His parents also knew that they could not influence Luo Cheng's decision, so they could only watch as Luo Zhou, who had not yet woken up, was arranged to be sent abroad overnight. When Luo woke up on Monday, he couldn't even return to China, let alone pester Xiaotang. He could only be furious and regretful. Of course, at this time, Xiaotang did not expect that he would never see that hypocritical guy again and would only receive repayments and compensation in the future. The Qin family probably heard Luo Cheng's neat solution through Jifei's voice. It was really satisfying, but at the same time, he looked at Qin Xian with some worry. Although Luo Zhou and Xuanyi are not good characters, one is Qin's brother and the other is a friend for many years, but now they have fallen into this situation. Qin Xian did frown slightly, and finally sighed softly, his eyes clear. In the end, it is a cycle of cause and effect, and everything is the ending it should be. Strange, what's on Qin Xian's cheek? Suddenly, Jifei remembered that after finding out Luo Cheng's arrangements for the two people, she was a little worried about whether Qin Xian would be entangled in the exposure of the video in the future. As a result, when he peeked over, as the light in the car flashed, he saw that Qin Xian's fair cheek seemed not very clean. Others couldn't help but shift their gaze because of Jifei's voice. Qin Xiao, who was the closest, couldn't help but said, "Second brother, is this a lip mark on your face?" Because he was too shocked, he just said it without thinking, and he didn't think about how there could be lip marks on his brother's face. If there really were, then... Ah, was it the one I just kissed? I was so happy about what happened in the previous video I accidentally thought, help, it's so embarrassing. Qin Xiao, your eyes are so good, also has a good mouth. Although Jifei's voice was already gnashing his teeth. But the focus of everyone's attention has completely fallen on the lip print. Everyone's eyes were fixed on Qin Xian's cheeks. Even the outsider Xiaotang was stunned. Qin family, oh my god. They kissed. And in public, how could I miss it? Xiaotang, I seem to have some impression. Yu Guangzhong seemed to see that teacher Ji was suddenly very happy to hug President Qin and kiss him. Why? Xiaotang fell into deep thought. Qin Xian responded vaguely to Qin Xiao's words, but his heart was full. He couldn't help but sneak a glance at Jifei, only to see that Jifei had pretended not to hear anything and lowered his head to play with his mobile phone. Qin family screamed in their hearts for a while, but they certainly couldn't say anything on the surface. But Qin Xiao took out the wet tissue in the car and handed it over. A big CEO can't always have a lip print. When he thought that his second brother might be seen by many people in Luo's house unconsciously with this lip print, he felt embarrassed for him. As a result, he saw his second brother glanced at him coldly. He had no intention of taking over. Then the phone in his hand vibrated wildly. Qin's father, are you stupid? Qin's mother, you are single for a reason. Qin Yan, is this a lip print that should be wiped off? Qin Rong, this is the love progress bar of my second brother and sister-in-law. Qin Xiao. You might as well let my second brother tattoo it on his face. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 222. While they were discussing fiercely, Qin Xian couldn't help looking at Jifei, his heart was in turmoil. Seeing her avoiding him, he thought she was shy, embarrassed, or regretted after reacting. But soon he heard a voice of regret. Ah, come to think of it, my subconscious mind is not good. I was so excited that I hugged him and kissed him on the face. Why didn't I take the opportunity to straighten his face and kiss him fiercely? Anyway, in that situation, even if I did it, I wouldn't be responsible. Oh, how could I be such a scumbag? It's so bad. How could I think like that? But it's really a pity. Qin Xian's lips look so kissable. He. Sure enough, I'm not brave enough. Qin Xian's reaction was almost a beat late, and then his face became hot after rubbing it. In the not-so-bright carriage, it was hard to see how red his skin was. But Qin Xian could be seen lowering his eyes, his eyelashes trembling constantly, and his red lips opening and closing helplessly, becoming more and more charming, as if waiting for someone to taste it. Qin Xian, if you want to kiss, you can do it anytime, no responsibility, not a scumbag, not a bad person. Qin family, Fei, do it boldly. It doesn't matter. We won't stand up for him and ask for justice. It's up to you, you can do whatever you want. As long as you dare to do it. Qin family's hands are about to smoke on the phone, you can see how excited they are, and suddenly, they feel a glance. Looking up, I found that it was Qin Xian's. It seems to be dissatisfied with something. Qin family, I see, we deserve to die. Why do we sit in a car with Qin Xian and Ji Fei just to eat the follow-up melons? They are so annoying now, really huge light bulbs. Now ask the driver to stop and take the strangers out. Can you continue the atmosphere between you? Stranger Xiaotang, why is the car so quiet, but the atmosphere around me feels so intense? Of course, it was impossible to leave the stage, because the atmosphere had been stopped, and Ji Fei's flexible little head had already started to think about other things. Ji Fei seemed to have been in contact with others before, and now she smiled and said to Xiaotang, I have agreed with Sister Pei that our studio is still in need of a long-term makeup artist. If you are interested, you can contact Sister Pei and sign a cooperation contract. Xiaotang, who originally felt that his energy and spirit were exhausted, suddenly brightened up. Maybe Luo Cheng would give him a generous compensation, but Xiaotang was more happy that his career could go further. Xiaotang kept thanking him excitedly. Soon Xiaotang arrived. After getting off the car, he watched the car leave. Suddenly, he had a strong premonition that the video was actually obtained by Teacher Ji and his friends. Just now, I was thinking about the cheek kiss, and I remembered Teacher Ji's title of the judge of the domestic entertainment. Suddenly, I felt that this was too much like Teacher Ji's style. In fact, it was not only Xiaotang who thought so. Many people who left Luo's house today were speculating. That night, the explosive gossip of the Luo family spread throughout the upper-class circle, and many people couldn't help but think divergently. There are many banquets in the upper class. Not every banquet will reveal some shocking gossip. After all, the last time such an explosive thing happened was the Chu family twins incident at the Qin family's family recognition banquet. Although this time it was the Luo family's banquet, the Qin family was also present, and combined with the bloody storm that the Qin family's young lady had set off in the entertainment circle, isn't it too coincidental? After all, the video that really caused the gossip to be exposed has not been made public yet. This is very suspicious. Of course, there are only a few vague statements now. But when the gossip of the rich spread to the internet, although it was not as exaggerated as that of celebrities and could not be on the hot search, it also set off a small-scale gossip craze. After all, that kind of wine tasting will also invite some reporters, who may not dare to report too many inside stories, but with the release of the promotional photos of the wine tasting, it still adds fun to the netizens who eat gossip to find clues. Among the netizens who love to eat melons, a large part of them are indeed members of the Fei family. Strange, why do I seem to see my sister Fei? Is Sister Fei here too? Sister Fei seems to be from a wealthy family, or has a relationship with a wealthy family. I don't know, but I know that wherever there are melons, there is Sister Fei. Ha ha ha, is the judge of the domestic entertainment going to judge the melons in the wealthy family? Is she going to evolve into the melon king of the wealthy family? Obviously, some netizens have predicted it in advance, but it is just a statement that occasionally flashes at this time. The next day, Ji-Fei surfed the internet and didn't understand why her name also appeared. However, there was no news about Xiao Tang, which was quite lucky, and her life would not be disturbed. Sister Pei also contacted Ji-Fei, and Xiao Tang came to sign the contract. In the afternoon, when the whole family accompanied Xiao Qingxi to participate in the competition, Ji-Fei's voice had new news. Because of Luo Cheng's warning, Xianyi finally got scared and went to get a divorce with a head full of gauze, and cried and begged Luo Cheng to be soft-hearted, but Luo Cheng didn't even look at her. Alas, I say, Sister Xian, if you had known this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. If you had lived a stable life, you wouldn't have been dug up so many secrets. The Qin family also lamented that yesterday was a big battle. Naturally, Qin Xian, who went to work, also received the news that the Luo family and the Xian family were completely torn apart. Their college friend group also quarreled, but Luo Zhou didn't respond at all. Xianyi directly exited the group chat. Suddenly, Qin Xian seemed to remember something, and said something to the people in the group, and then pulled Ji-Fei in. Everyone has changed their views on Ji-Fei now, so their attitude towards Ji-Fei is quite enthusiastic. Ji-Fei was suddenly very curious and turned to chat with Qin Xian privately. How do you draw me into your group so smoothly? Qin Xian replied, there is a lot of gossip here. Although he never participates in it and doesn't like to watch it, he still knows that this group of people like to talk about this when they get together. Ji-Fei thought Qin Xian would say something because she was his wife and needed to establish contact with his friends. But when she saw this answer, she really couldn't help but curl up her lips and couldn't help feeling happy in her heart. Then he immediately went to peek at the screen and eat the melon with great interest. Everyone had obviously been discussing Luo Zhou and Xuanyi for a long time before. At this moment, they didn't want to continue lamenting and sighing, so they talked about Luo Fei's marriage. Qi Li, Luo Fei, I'm really curious, how did your family agree to you marrying her? It's probably because of the child, Jing Yan said. Luo Fei did not deny it. Actually, my father has relented a long time ago, but my mother has never let go. This time, it was indeed because Shishi was pregnant that my mother agreed. This is good, as I can marry with the blessing of my family. My beloved woman will be very happy. If I had known earlier, you should have had children earlier, so that your parents wouldn't have hindered you for so long. You said. Luo Fei, I don't even listen to them about my career. Do I need to listen to them to get a wife? In fact, Shishi has always refused to agree. As you know, she has always lived a cautious life. She probably hopes that my parents will agree, otherwise she would not dare to nod. Even if she is pregnant, she has been uneasy several times, and even she was hesitant to abort the child, but it was my fault for not giving her a sense of security. Hearing Luo Fei's reflection, everyone either laughed at him or praised him, thinking that they would be a very happy couple. Ji-Fei had roughly understood their love story through Luo Fei's perspective before, and it was a real redemption plot. The two are high school classmates, one is a leading boy with a sense of justice, and the other is a poor girl who is weak and bullied because her parents died. Luo Fei often heroically saves the beauty, and even fights with others for her. In serious cases, he is hospitalized. When I was gossiping with Qin Xian before, I heard that Luo Fei's original dream as a child was to be in the Air Force. In fact, half of the Luo family has a military background, so Luo Fei either went to the business world or the military world. As a result, a fight in high school resulted in him being seriously injured, leaving scars on his body, and he could no longer be a man. Air Force. And he also has his own pride and reserve in his character. If he can't be in the Air Force, he never wants to be another soldier. He is afraid of being hurt by the situation. With his character, it is impossible for him to choose the business world, so he chooses to be a policeman. In the end, he naturally falls in love with him. Once you get this career, you will be relieved of the regret of not being able to join the Air Force. However, it was also because of that serious incident that the two of them seemed to have gone through many hardships and connected with each other, and then they officially started dating. Even if they go to different universities and spend less time together and more apart, they have still maintained their relationship. It is only now that the long-distance love race has the best ending. Through the chatter in the group chat, Ji-Fei also found out that the other party was Fan Shi. Because he felt pity for this girl who had been bullied, Ji-Fei subconsciously felt that prying into her privacy was equivalent to digging up her past wounds, so she didn't think about it at all. Go over and see what Fan Shi has to offer. On the other side, in Luo Fei and Fan Shi's apartment, Fan Shi brought the fruit virtuously. Luo Fei immediately put down his cell phone, stood up, carefully helped the person sit down, and said, "I told you, let me do these things." After saying that, he gently stroked Fan Shi's slightly swollen belly. Fan Shi's eyebrows and eyes exuded an aura of pity. "Are you talking to your friends? Because of the wine tasting that day?" Luo Fei said, "I didn't tell you since you were sleeping all the time." "Alas, actually." Luo Fei told Fan Shi what happened to Luo Zhou and Xuanyi, and remembered that Fan Shi was pregnant, and couldn't help but said, "You said Xuanyi was really cruel, how could he bear to abort the child?" "It's not, I heard other people's analysis, I'm afraid Xuanyi originally wanted brother Luo to take advantage of him and recognize the child. How could a woman be like this?" Just as Luo Fei finished sighing, he noticed that Fan Shi's face was pale, and he immediately asked anxiously, "What's wrong?" She. "No. I just feel a little uncomfortable again." Luo Fei naturally stopped talking and immediately inquired about the situation. He didn't see Fan Shi hesitate to speak. In the next few days, because Fan Shi was unwell, Luo Fei naturally had to be busy with the wedding alone. Because he was too busy, he didn't pay attention to Fan Shi's various strange behaviors. Until the wedding day. Isn't that little girl Wu Xinqing? She also came to Luo Fei's wedding? Does her family have friendship with the Luo family? Qin's mother was a little surprised when she saw an acquaintance. Warm reminder, if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 223. The Qin family and the Luo family have a good relationship, so the whole family came together for the wedding. 4 women were holding hands in twos, and 4 men were standing behind them. The whole family was responsible for their good looks. As soon as they got out of the car, they naturally attracted the attention of most people. Not to mention, the Qin group recently completed another major project, and the results were very eye-catching, making people jealous and admirable. Everyone has also heard that the 3rd son of the Qin family may want to go abroad to develop his career and quit the entertainment industry. It feels like this may be a big move for the Qin group. Perhaps they want the brothers to work together to share the pressure of the Qin title, create the glory of their lineage, and seize more say in the Qin group. After all, the Qin family is still very complicated. Therefore, many people want to find out the news in advance to facilitate subsequent arrangements. Acquaintances came up to say hello. After the Qin family had dealt with one wave after another, they were walking into the Luo family manor when they saw an unexpected person in the crowd. Qin Rong asked Qin's mother curiously, "Who is it?" Qin's mother remembered that none of the younger members of the family had ever seen Wu Xinqing, so she said, "She is the daughter abandoned by that fool Peng Li." Because Wu Xinqing occasionally goes back to visit her grandparents, and the Peng family has a good relationship with Qin's mother's family, so they have met once or twice. But Qin's mother remembered that neither the Wu family nor the Peng family seemed to have any contact with the Luo family. So it's strange why I see Wu Xingqing here. Ji Fei also followed Qin Ma's gaze and looked over. Wow, beauty. The Qin family all looked at Wu Xingqing. She was indeed pretty. Fortunately, she was not like her mother, otherwise she would have been very annoying. Wu Xingqing is a typical cold beauty, with a naturally cold face and a dull expression. It can be seen from her demeanor that she is a person who is very strict with herself. Wu Xingqing turned around and saw Qin's father and Qin's mother. Apparently she had a good memory and was polite, so she took the initiative to say hello. When she came over, everyone saw that she was holding a man's arm. It's just that the man doesn't quite match her overall style. He's dressed casually and looks a bit handsome, but his whole body is considered noble. Just when he came with her, his eyes looked back and forth like a scrutinizer. Maybe it's his habit of looking at people, but it makes people feel uncomfortable for no reason. Uncle and aunt, long time no see. Hello. Wu Xingqing nodded in greeting. Xiaoqing, are you coming to Luo Fei's wedding too? Qin's mother said with a smile. I came here with my boyfriend. I didn't expect to meet him here. Wu Xingqing had just returned to China not long ago. The focus of the Wu family's business has gradually shifted abroad, and they have lost much contact with domestic wealthy families, so Wu Xingqing, I don't know the network of connections here at all. I came to the wedding because of my boyfriend. I guess this boyfriend is someone the Luo family knows. You are such a big girl. The last time I saw you, your grandma said you were single. Qin's mother said with a smile. A cold girl like Wu Xingqing can't help but feel shy when hearing such topics. Hello, uncle and aunt, I am Tang Yu, Qingqing's boyfriend. I only caught up with Qingqing 3 months ago. Tang Yu greeted with a smile. Qin's mother also happened to introduce the other people in the family and responded politely. This man always feels, he seems to be handsome, but also seems to be ugly. Ji Fei always felt a sense of disobedience when looking at Tang Yu. After the snoring was over, the two parties separated. At this moment, Qin Chao came into play and said, the one named Tang Yu has plastic surgery on his face. He still doesn't know what he originally looked like. Ah? Really? Qin Rong immediately asked curiously. Didn't you notice that his expression was very unnatural? He was so stiff that he had been stabbed so many times. Qin Kaidao. It's really unnatural. Qin Yan. Ji Fei suddenly realized, no wonder I always feel something weird. It seems that men will also use a knife on themselves for the sake of beauty. Sure enough, I don't like plastic surgery, but Qin Xian's face is more beautiful and pleasing to the eye. Qin Xian, who had just been thinking about Tang Yu's name that seemed inexplicably familiar to him, was suddenly praised like this, and his mind and mouth were out of control. He couldn't help but stepped forward and approached Ji Fei like a big dog, their arms almost touching. Ji Fei was stunned when she was touched, and subconsciously thought that Qin Xian was indicating that she should hold arms. After all, they were still husband and wife, and it was considered etiquette to hold arms when entering a formal occasion. So Ji Fei took the initiative to hold his arm, and Qin Xian almost froze. He didn't expect this development, and the expression on his face suddenly became unnatural. The Qin family watched from behind. Qin Xian's tense appearance was clearly seen. That's it, it's not like I haven't saved anything, I'm promising. It would be so embarrassing if someone saw. The Qin family has been very calm about this small development. Next time it is not the level of hugging and kissing, they will brush it off. Entering the manor building, there are more guests. This time, not only elders like Qin's father and Qin's mother, but also Qin Yan and Qin Rong and Qin Chao had their own friends, so everyone dispersed as soon as they entered. Because they had no melons, the Qin family was not particularly motivated to arrive early this time. When they arrived, Qin Xian's group of friends had already arrived. Qin Xian brought Ji Fei to their group and saw Luo Fei there. It was rare to see him in a formal dress and his hair was combed meticulously. His handsomeness soared and he seemed to be discussing the matter of picking up the bride later. Fan Shi no longer has any relatives or friends there, so the apartment they live in serves as her natal home, with colleagues and classmates accompanying her, waiting for them to pick up the bride. You're just in time, Qin Xian, Ji Fei, will you come with us? Luo Fei said excitedly with a happy face, help me break through the door. Others all said with a smile, even Sen Ting, who seemed to dislike such events, stood up. In the past, Qin Xian would not join in such a commotion, but this time, he wanted to go so that he could learn from it. However, he turned to look at Ji Fei first and asked her opinion. Ji Fei certainly wanted to join in the commotion, so she readily agreed. So she followed the groom to pick up the bride. When several people were in a car on the road, Bai Zioxi suddenly asked curiously, Qi Li, you didn't bring anyone with you today? Yes, where is Han Ziyu? Humph, you ignorant little girl, you're throwing a tantrum at me. Qi Li was dissatisfied. It was just that he watched the man's performance video abroad in front of her, but after a few days, he said he wanted to break up with him. It was just a trick of playing hard to get. Are you sure? Isn't it that Han Ziyu's contract expired, he made enough money, and didn't renew the contract? She obviously left happily. You can't imagine the joy of quitting a job you don't like. Ji Fei looked at Qi Li's self-righteous arrogance and almost couldn't help laughing. She was really curious about how he would react if he couldn't wait for Han Ziyu to come back. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yu. Chapter 224. However, Qi Li's incident was just a small episode. Soon, they arrived at the apartment. After a series of door-breaking games, Ji Fei finally followed the crowd to the wedding room where the bride was staying. It was just that there were too many people standing in front, and Ji Fei could not see the small games played in the encirclement. She was standing on tiptoe, but the next second she was dragged and picked up. The familiar posture was completely different from the last time. This time, Qin Xian felt a sense of satisfaction, and his body almost spontaneously hugged more naturally, and it seemed more intimate. Also, more nervous. Ji Fei was stunned for a moment, and then her heartbeat could not help but mess up a few times. Even though it was an unsafe height, it strangely felt absolutely safe. It was just that there were children being picked up to watch the fun around her, and she was the only adult. She felt embarrassed for some reason and wanted Qin Xian to put her down. But when she looked down, she found that Qin Xian seemed to be shy, because his ears were so red. It was so red that blood was about to drip. Ji Fei didn't know if she had a brain twitch. The hand that happened to be hanging on Qin Xian's neck was a bit naughty, and she actually pinched the bright red earlobe. Qin Xian, however, looked up suddenly like a cat with its fur standing on end. Ji Fei felt guilty, so Ji Fei let go and pretended that she had done nothing. I didn't tease him, I was just curious if his ears would get hot, but, so red, is he shy? Ha ha ha, it turns out that the boss has such a cute side. Is this the contrast? So cute. Qin Xian turned back silently, his eyes drooped, and his whole body was steaming. Huh? Is that Ji Fei? Yes, it's her, a big star. The man holding her is, so handsome, more handsome than Qin Xiao. How can there be such a handsome man? And he is so strong, he can be so stable even when holding her like this. Qin Xian paused, waiting for Ji Fei's reaction with some hesitation. In fact, he wanted everyone to know that they were a couple, but he knew that Ji-Fei still wanted to be an artist, and maybe Ji-Fei didn't want others to know that she was married. "It's my husband, you read it right, he is so handsome and has such a strong boyfriend, he, it's really a face to have such a husband." Qin Xian felt relieved and couldn't help feeling happy. Yes, he can save face for Ji-Fei. But obviously those who were talking about it also understood that since they came with Luo Fei, they must have extraordinary status and dared not do anything to take secret photos, so after talking about it for a while, they changed the subject. "Fan Shi is still lucky. I didn't expect that a girl who was so miserable in high school would marry into a rich family now. I think Luo Fei felt sorry for her from that time, and he fell in love with her. Men like this kind of woman who inspires their desire to protect. Although I don't like Fan Shi's overly weak and unresisting character, she was indeed miserable in the past. She was bullied by school bullies for so long and went to school with injuries almost every day. Now she can be said to have finally gotten her wish. In fact, it's been a long time since the past. I thought that when I met Fan Shi this time, her character was somewhat different. Will change, after all, she has been spoiled by Luo Fei for so many years. Why does she still feel the same as in high school, timid and cowardly? More than that, today is obviously her big day, but she has put on a melancholy and sad expression since she started to dress up in the morning. Only Luo Fei's sunny personality can face her every day without being affected by her negative energy. Sure enough, the shadow of school days will always follow you like a shadow. Not necessarily, because pregnancy will also be affected by hormones. The two people should be Fan Shi's high school classmates, so they can't help gossiping about the past. Ji-Fei listened and observed Fan Shi. Sure enough, she looked different, even though Luo Fei had knelt on one knee and read out various declarations of love. Generally, the bride is either laughing so hard that she is shaking with laughter, or she can't help but cry. As a result, Fan Shi's eyes flickered, her heart was uneasy, and her smile seemed very forced. It's really strange. But before Ji-Fei could think about it, everyone cheered, and the game of picking up the bride was over. Because there was no family of the bride here, many ceremonies were omitted, and the bride was taken directly back to Luo's house. When they arrived at Luo's house, Luo Fei did not let Fan Shi get off the ground, and carried her sideways to walk inside. He looked very caring for his wife. He naturally received many blessings from guests along the way. "Congratulations. Thank you, thank you. Congratulations." Suddenly two figures appeared in the crowd. When Luo Fei heard the congratulations, he returned the thank you, but his eyes paused slightly, and he was a little surprised to see these two guests who had only met once. And at this moment, he found that Fan Shi, who he was holding, suddenly trembled all over. "What's wrong?" Luo Fei asked worriedly. Fan Shi shook her head and buried her head in Luo Fei's arms, as if she didn't want Luo Fei to see her expression at the moment. Luo Fei thought Fan Shi was not feeling well, so he couldn't help but speed up his pace, wanting to send Fan Shi back to the wedding room to rest as soon as possible. But he didn't realize that Fan Shi was quietly watching the two figures gradually going away through the gap in his arms, and her eyes gradually became hazy. He. Wu Xingqing suddenly heard her boyfriend sneer and couldn't help looking at him strangely. Tang Yu reacted and immediately hugged Wu Xingqing and said, "I'm so envious, I also want to marry you soon." Wu Xingqing suddenly felt uncomfortable and said, "You can only talk about marriage after dating for more than 2 years." A flash of impatience flashed across Tang Yu's face, and he cursed the old-fashioned and prude in his heart. At this moment, Tang Yu suddenly saw a person waving towards him. That person was Luo's father's assistant. Tang Yu's eyes flashed, he made an excuse to Wu Xingqing, and left alone. The assistant frowned slightly when he saw him. "The boss wants to see you, come with me." Tang Yu smiled and followed the assistant to the huge backyard garden of the Luo family. "After walking around for a while, I heard some dogs barking, and then I saw Ludo's father in a hidden corner with the bridegroom's father's corsage on his chest. Before Tang Yu opened his mouth, Ludo's father frowned and scolded, "What are you doing here? Who asked you to come?" "Dad, even if the eldest brother doesn't know my existence, he is my eldest brother after all. I still want to witness such a big event as the wedding," Tang Yu said seriously. Ludo's father was stunned for a moment. "Are you really not here to make trouble? Your mother should have told you the stakes. I can't reveal your identity now. You can't cause me trouble on this occasion." "How could it be?" "Dad, I brought my girlfriend here today. I just want you to take a side look at my girlfriend, the eldest daughter of the Wu family, Wu Xinqing." "What? You dated her? How could their family agree?" "Are you really?" Ludo's father was very surprised. Tang Yu said, "Her father will not interfere with her decision. No matter her status or background, as long as she catches him, it will be fine. But, if I go according to my current situation, even if I get married in the future, I may be considered as a wife, so." Father Ludo couldn't help but frown, as if he was already thinking about something. "I understand, you go back to be with your girlfriend first, and we'll talk about it later." Tang Yu put his hands in his pockets, couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth, and turned around to leave. When passing by a tree wall as high as a person somewhere, I heard the barking of dogs again, but it seemed to stop suddenly, which was very strange. Tang Yu didn't pay attention, but behind a wall of trees, there were 2 people and 3 dogs. Ji Fei heard that Ludo Fei had adopted several retired police dogs. She was bored while waiting for the bride to change, so Qin Xian proposed to bring her over to have a look. He knew she would like it, and as expected, Ji Fei was so excited that she wanted to come over and play with the dog. The housekeeper brought them over and left. They were playing when they heard a secret conversation. Qin Xian's expression was not good. Ji Fei opened his mouth wide, held the dog's head with one hand, and held down the dog's mouth. "Yao Xiao, you've got something big to eat sure enough. Rich families have many illegitimate children. I heard Mother Qin say before that the relationship between the Ludo family and his wife is very harmonious, and they have true feelings during their marriage. I didn't expect that there is such an illegitimate child, man, as expected, ha ha ha. Ludo Fei still doesn't know. Now that we hear it, should we report it? I definitely can't talk about this big day." Wu Xinqing's boyfriend, the one named Tang Yu, listening to his voiceover, it is obvious that Wu Xinqing is betting on Wu Xinqing to ask Ludo's father to let him recognize his ancestor as soon as possible. How despicable! I don't even know Wu Xinqing, so why don't I find an opportunity to remind her? Just as he was thinking about it, a conversation between Ludo's father and his assistant came over there. "Send someone to keep an eye on this kid, don't let him jump out and cause trouble." "Boss, don't you believe the young master? The reason why I sent them mother and son abroad was because of his fight with Ludo Fei. They were both disfigured and had such a big feud. With his temper, I don't believe that he would let go of the hatred so easily. Today is our family's. It's a big deal, and you can't make a fool of yourself." "What? Ever had a fight? Don't you know him? Disfigured? What's going on? I'll check." Qin Xian was stunned. "Fighting? Disfigured? Tang Yu? All the clues come together." Qin Xian's eyes flashed for a moment, and he remembered the school bully in high school. Ah. 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 Warm reminder, if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yu. Chapter 225. The Qin family members scattered everywhere stopped socializing. What did they hear? Although it was far away and a little blurry, but, What did they hear? The boyfriend of Wu Xingqing who I just met turned out to be Ludo's father's illegitimate son. Qin's father and mother happened to be facing Ludo's mother. Ludo's mother smiled and pulled Qin's mother to talk, looking like she knew nothing, which was really sympathetic. After all, in the circle of wealthy families, on the surface, Qin's father and Ludo's father were both good men who didn't mess around outside. As a result, the illegitimate son was almost the same age as Ludo Fei, which was really a blow. Qin Yan and Qin Rong happened to see Ludo Fei coming down the stairs after settling the bride, with a face full of smugness and no worries. And Qin Chao happened to be outside and saw Tang Yu walking back leisurely. No wonder he thought his face was strange, so he had plastic surgery because Ludo Fei beat him and ruined his face? But Ludo Fei didn't know that he was his father's illegitimate son, so why would he beat him? Moreover, according to Ludo Fei's character, even if he knew that this was his half-brother, he would not do it casually. After all, the fault of having an illegitimate child was never on the illegitimate child, and Ludo Fei was still very kind in this regard. Then, Ji Fei's sharp explosion was heard, and it could be heard clearly even from a distance. The Qin family was in suspense. What happened? Can Ji Fei make such a cry? Is there a bigger melon besides the illegitimate child? Impossible, this is absolutely impossible. Qin family, what? What is impossible? Ludo Fei's wife Fan Shi is pregnant with Tang Yu's child. Qin family, huh? Wait. What did you say? Whose wife, whose child? How can three names make people unable to understand the relationship between the characters? Qin Xian on the side was also dumbfounded, and couldn't help looking at Ji Fei. And Ji Fei was also shocked because of eating such a big melon, and didn't pay attention to Qin Xian's reaction on the side. It was Tang Yu who bullied Fan Shi in high school, and Ludo Fei was Fan Shi's benefactor. How could Fan Shi? Qin family, forced. Threatened. Poor girl, nightmare experience. Qin Xian, no, according to the status of Ludo Fei and Tang Yu, how could Fan Shi be bullied to this extent? After all, as long as Fan Shi told Ludo Fei could completely suppress Tang Yu. Handle, Tang Yu must have some handle in his hand, Fan Shi would. Ji Fei always felt that Fan Shi was like a poor girl who was frightened, so she couldn't understand why Fan Shi was pregnant with Tang Yu's child. For a moment, Ji Fei even thought that there was some hidden information that prevented her from eating the whole melon. But when Ji Fei checked carefully, no forced, no handle, no, Ji Fei was silent. The Qin family was halfway through eating the melon and was stuck to death. What happened? Your silence is deafening. As a result, Ji Fei was amazed in her heart after a while. Ludo Fei, you are really the most invincible enemy in the universe. The hearts of the Qin family members are about to start beating wildly. One is willing to fight and the other is willing to be beaten. Why are you interfering? The Qin family members are all dumbfounded, and some kind of conjecture makes their worldview a little unstable. Could it be that Fan Shi is still willing to face the bullying of the school bully, and is happy? Is this really not a mental illness? It was obviously not long after she entered school Fan Shi was targeted just because she accidentally spilled water on Tang Yu because Fan Shi was dressed poorly, was taciturn, and had no parents to supervise her. She encouraged the arrogance of the school bully. There was no bottom line in the bullying, and it soon escalated to the level of punching and kicking. At first, Fan Shi would complain to the teacher, but although Tang Yu was scolded, he retaliated even more fiercely because the classmates were afraid of Tang Yu. They could only choose to isolate Fan Shi and not care about it. It was not until Ludo Fei, who was in the first year of high school, accidentally encountered Tang Yu and a little girl beating Fan Shi. Ludo Fei's sense of justice naturally immediately rescued people, and took Fan Shi to the school clinic to help see the wound, ask the reason, and ask the principal to deal with it. He was determined to help people to the end. Tang Yu was also asked to invite parents. The Qin family was confused. Isn't this a very logical hero saving the beauty? Even if Fan Shi might not like Luo Fei who saved him from the water and fire, it is impossible for him to fall in love with the bully. At this time, Fan Shi was afraid and resentful of Tang Yu, and was grateful for being rescued. But that day, after the school handled the matter, Fan Shi ran into Tang Yu talking to Luo's father on campus. At that time, Fan Shi didn't know that it was Luo's father, but only knew that it was Tang Yu's father. Luo's father scolded Tang Yu, slapped him, and warned, "Remember your identity as an illegitimate child, if you make trouble, you will be sent away." Tang Yu tried to call dad, but was scolded and not allowed to call. The Qin family was confused. So what? What does this have to do with Fan Shi liking Tang Yu? After Luo's father left, Tang Yu started crying in the rain. Fan Shi actually felt that Tang Yu was helpless like a child in that scene. She couldn't explain why she came forward with an umbrella to help block the rain. When Tang Yu saw that it was her, he wanted her to get out and wanted to hit her, but Fan Shi didn't say anything and looked at him with pity. In the end, Tang Yu collapsed and hugged Fan Shi, crying for a long time. In order to vent his emotions, he lost control and kissed Fan Shi. At first, Fan Shi resisted, but later, as if she was gradually tamed, she stopped resisting. Just like that, Fan Shi had Tang Yu in her heart. The Qin family, it's hard to comment? Is this some kind of youth campus pain literature? Since it's like this, then, just have a campus romance, why drag Luo Fei into it again? Although they had such an intimate relationship, Tang Yu felt ashamed afterwards and didn't want to have any memories of that day. After all, he didn't like Fan Shi in the first place, and Fan Shi's personality was not the kind of person who would actively ask for results in feelings, so the relationship between the two did not change on the surface. Tang Yu was a bit rebellious by nature at that time. He still wanted to secretly compete with Luo Fei in his father's heart. Since Luo Fei wanted to protect Fan Shi, he deliberately retaliated in an even more severe way. But at that time, Luo Fei also had his own things to do. He felt that the last lesson was enough and Tang Yu would not commit any more crimes. In addition, Fan Shi was reluctant to see Tang Yu really expelled and was willing to accept all his violent behaviors, so he endured it silently and didn't let Luo Fei find out. As a result, Tang Yu found out that Luo Fei didn't care about Fan Shi, so he lost interest in Fan Shi and started dating a woman who liked Luo Fei. Fan Shi gradually felt lost and uneasy, and subconsciously began to expose her hidden injuries to Luo Fei, and also acted in a bad mental state in front of Luo Fei. Luo Fei naturally discovered the problem quickly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 226. Qin family, what is this? Before, they thought Fan Shi was pitiful and pathetic. She actually fell in love with the person who bullied her. As a result, they were all dumbfounded when they heard this. Fan Shi thought Luo Fei would warn Tang Yu, but she didn't expect that Luo Fei would report to the school every time he caught her, and it would be best to make this campus cancer drop out. Fan Shi was naturally unwilling. She stopped Luo Fei from complaining every time when asked why. She remained silent and just shook her head with tears in her eyes, as if she was very aggrieved. Such Fan Shi, whoever saw her, would feel distressed. Luo Fei only thought that Fan Shi had a psychological shadow and was afraid of being retaliated again. Although Luo Fei promised to protect her, Fan Shi still kept begging Luo Fei. Luo Fei would never think that Fan Shi was pleading for her lover. Luo Fei was afraid that it would backfire and stimulate Fan Shi, so he temporarily followed Fan Shi and began to protect Fan Shi more closely. In the process, pity gradually turned into love. This naturally attracted Tang Yu's attention, and Tang Yu also found that Fan Shi had a strange attitude towards him. No matter how he bullied her, she would not look at him with hatred. Although she struggled, resisted, and ran away, she seemed to be reluctant to resist. With a little force, the other party immediately tamed. Many times, she would not even complain. After Tang Yu clearly knew that Luo Fei liked Fan Shi, Tang Yu really had a crooked mind and locked Fan Shi in the warehouse, wanting to do something to Fan Shi. Fan Shi resisted very fiercely this time, so Tang Yu simply tied her up, listened to Fan Shi crying, and wanted to record Fan Shi. As a result, before he did anything, Luo Fei broke in. Looking at Fan Shi's appearance, Luo Fei was naturally heartbroken and lost his mind. It was this time that Tang Yu was beaten and disfigured. And Luo Fei was also injured and left with scars. Hearing this, the Qin family sighed. Qin Xian's face was completely dark. He recalled the shining look when Luo Fei talked about his dream when he was young. In fact, Qin Xian envied him very much. Because he was slow to react emotionally and his emotions were not like those of normal people, he didn't know what a dream was from childhood to adulthood, but when he saw Luo Fei talking about his dream, he seemed to understand it. And it was because of Tang Yu and Fan Shi. Luo Fei's dream could never be realized again. Ji Fei's voice was still fierce. After all, this kind of melon really shattered his three views. The incident was too big originally. Everyone thought that Fan Shi would be a witness to accuse Tang Yu, but Fan Shi refused to report it naturally. Whether it was Luo Fei or others, their understanding of the matter was that girls didn't want more people to know about this kind of thing, and would rather swallow their anger, so they didn't think there was anything wrong. But Tang Yu was still fired. Luo's father was furious and arranged for someone to secretly send him abroad to treat his face, and then he studied abroad. During that time, Fan Shi kept visiting Luo Fei in the hospital. She also knew that Luo Fei could not take the Air Force exam due to injury. Years of preparation were ruined. She cried every day and was very sad. Luo's mother was embarrassed to blame her. Luo Fei was even more distressed and said that it was okay. He even tried to comfort Fan Shi. Even if she didn't know who she was crying for. Was it because of guilt towards Luo Fei, or because the person in her heart would never see her again? Maybe it was to make up for the guilt, or maybe she was moved by Luo Fei's kindness to her. Even if her view of love was strange, she knew who she could be with to get real happiness, so she agreed to date Luo Fei. Qin family, scratching their heads and ears in pain, what is this? Did Luo Fei dig up someone's ancestral grave? Is Fan Shi sure that she is not repaying kindness with enmity? Not to mention, she got pregnant with someone's child afterwards? No, how did they hook up again? Does Fan Shi have any morals? Everyone really understands what it means to not judge a person by appearance. Ji Fei continued to eat melons. The psychological trauma gradually recovered under Luo Fei's care. Although they were in different schools, the two spent their college years warmly and sweetly. During this period, Fan Shi met Luo's father and discovered the true relationship between Tang Yu and Luo Fei. Because she wanted to escape everything, she almost broke up with Luo Fei, but was coaxed back by Luo Fei. Qin family, no, why did you coax her? Oh, it's so anxious. Because Fan Shi couldn't bear to part with such a good man, she thought she would completely forget the wrong love in the past. But when Tang Yu appeared again, everything changed. Tang Yu naturally looked for Fan Shi to take away everything from Luo Fei, and Fan Shi's initial idea was that she didn't dare to contact him and wanted to run away, but she was tamed by the familiar force domineering. During the tug-of-war, she was pulled into the hotel on the first day of meeting, and half pushed really had sex. At this time, Tang Yu realized that Fan Shi was actually a virgin, and he was even more proud. I was disgusted. Qin family, our stomachs are also uncomfortable. Afterwards, although Fan Shi was sad and crying, she wanted to be with Tang Yu and break up with Luo Fei. As a result, Tang Yu still treated Fan Shi violently and refused to take responsibility. In the end, Fan Shi left heartbroken, but did not break up with Luo Fei. Not long after, Tang Yu went to block Fan Shi again. Fan Shi refused painfully. As a result, Tang Yu said, "I actually love you," and Fan Shi followed him again. She kept carrying Luo Fei on her back until she got pregnant. Fan Shi asked Tang Yu to make a choice, but Tang Yu was so happy that he insisted that Fan Shi leave the child and marry Luo Fei, because in this way, even if he, the illegitimate child, could not get everything from the Luo family, his child could get it. You are so calculating. Were you a calculator in your previous life? The Qin family was speechless, but they still had some human expectations for Fan Shi, thinking that she might not agree. But thinking of today's marriage, they felt that they were ridiculously naive. Fan Shi initially felt that she couldn't do this, and that she would be sorry for Luo Fei. After all, she still had a brain and knew that Luo Fei was the benefactor who changed her life. She was already very sorry for this person, but Tang Yu was unwilling to take her away and was unwilling to take responsibility. She was afraid that she would not be able to live independently with her child, so she finally chose to be sorry for Luo Fei. She also secretly vowed that she would live a good life with Luo Fei with her child in the future, and would never be involved with Tang Yu again. The Qin family, that's not necessary. Qin Xian remembered that Fan Shi had missed their activities several times afterwards. Was she really in poor health? It's so funny. When people are cheap, they have no principles. What they say is like fart. She still keeps hoping for Tang Yu, and even comes whenever he calls. She always hopes that Tang Yu can take her away, but she is disappointed again and again. She even knows that Tang Yu actually has a girlfriend. Tang Yu doesn't hide it from her, saying that she is not qualified to marry him because of her status and background, and asks her to raise his son for him. This time, she almost collapsed. Facing the happy Luo Fei, she began to feel guilty and even thought about not having children, but finally came to this point today. After eating the whole melon, the Qin family felt like they were going to have diarrhea. Although they all want others to be cheap fathers, at least Xianyi is clearly bad. Fan Shi, you are really. Ji Fei couldn't think of an adjective. Inexplicably, she felt that Fan Shi was more annoying than Tang Yu in this melon. Ji Fei looked at Qin Xian on the side with a guilty look. Seeing that Qin Xian's face was very gloomy, she thought it was because of the illegitimate child she just heard about. Ji Fei couldn't help but feel anxious. Luo Fei is a good person, and he is also Qin Xian's good brother. It's really unreasonable not to help in this kind of situation. This marriage must not be concluded. It's too insulting. But how to destroy it? They have been lovers for many years and have children. I have no evidence and can't directly reveal the gossip in the system. How to do this? Just thinking about it, I saw Qin Xian suddenly picked up his mobile phone and made a call. Within an hour. Help me check a person. I want to know all his whereabouts in the past 6 months, Qin Xian said coldly, especially the surveillance videos of who he met alone. When Ji Fei heard it, he was immediately shocked. This is possible. Qin Xian is probably worried about this illegitimate child and worried that he will come back to target Luo Fei on purpose, but this method of investigation will definitely find Fan Shi. Once there is surveillance evidence, the truth will be revealed. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 227. In fact, Luo Fei and Fan Shi's marriage has not been registered yet. Maybe Fan Shi has other expectations, so she has been dragging it out and chose to hold the wedding first. So the significance of stopping this wedding is even greater. Ji Fei asked Qin Xian with some curiosity whether he wanted to tell Luo Fei about the conversation between the father and son just now. Qin Xian said to wait for evidence. Ji Fei hoped that Qin Xian could find out that Fan Shi had a problem. If it was just a question of illegitimate child, it would be impossible to come out and talk about such a thing on someone's wedding day. It must be said after the wedding, and even if it was said in advance, it would not conflict with the wedding. Qin Xian thought so too. Just the question of illegitimate child, telling Luo Fei would only make him sick. Not to mention that Luo Fei and Fan Shi have been in love for many years. Naturally, it is not something that Qin Xian can shake with just a few words, so there must be evidence in hand. Ji Fei and Qin Xian returned to the hall and saw Tang Yu and Wu Xinqing in the crowd. They were greeting Luo's father and mother as ordinary juniors. Luo's mother didn't know them at all, but she was also polite. Father Luo took a good look at Wu Xinqing, his eyes were quite satisfied. This scene is really disgusting. No matter how you look at it, it's just two men deceiving two innocent women. The scattered Qin family members have gathered together now, and they can't help but discuss the big melon they just ate. Hearing Ji Fei's voice, they really can't help but look at Father Luo and Tang Yu with contempt. Oh, watching these two dogs communicate with each other through eyes, as if they treat others as fools, it's really too uncomfortable. The Qin family also paid attention to it. The father and son looked at each other, and they both looked meaningful and calculated, which was really annoying. I heard before that Father Luo was more open-minded about Luo Fei marrying Fan Shi than Mother Luo at first. I thought it was strange generally, the patriarchs of such families like to make marriages of interest. How could they agree so easily? It's not strange now, because he already has a backup plan. If Luo Fei insists on being a policeman in the future and doesn't inherit the family business, Luo's father will naturally not want to leave his power to his nephews. It's better to have his own son, so it's not a big problem for Luo Fei to marry Fan Shi. Originally, he planned to wait until his health was not good, and then he would morally blackmail his wife's family and let the illegitimate son return to his position. Now Tang Yu has found a good girlfriend, and he has begun to plan. If Tang Yu can really get engaged to Wu Xinqing, then he plans to let Tang Yu recognize his ancestors in advance. In fact, the military relationship of Luo's mother's family has provided the greatest help for the current scale of the Luo family. Now Luo's father wants to leave this achievement to his child with his mistress, which is really disgusting. Not to mention, Tang Yu also came up with a vicious plan of two-pronged approach. Qin's mother wanted to tell Luo's mother, but was stopped by her family. This kind of family scandal is easy to be a bad person for outsiders. Unless it's a brotherly relationship like Qin Xian and Luo Fei. Tang Yu left with Wu Xinqing after saying hello and went to socialize elsewhere. Qin's mother was soft-hearted and couldn't help but worry about Wu Xinqing, but after all, they were not familiar with each other, so she couldn't meddle in other people's love affairs. Ji Fei and Qin Xian walked through the living room, and their eyes couldn't help but follow Wu Xinqing. A big beauty, it's a pity that her eyesight is not good. When they met at a foreign university, Tang Yu pursued Wu Xinqing madly because of family factors. The Wu family doted on Wu Xinqing very much, so they never cared about the match between the family backgrounds, as long as Wu Xinqing liked her, so they didn't care about Tang Yu's identity. Alas, it's so miserable. Tang Yu is still Wu Xinqing's first love. If she only knew about the illegitimate child, according to Wu Xinqing's personality, she probably wouldn't break up with Tang Yu, unless she knew about Fan Shi and Tang Yu. Qin Xian didn't distract Wu Xinqing's affairs at this time, and just glanced at Tang Yu coldly. Soon, Luo Fei was found next to the group of friends. Everyone was still laughing and talking. Seeing Qin Xian and Ji Fei coming over, they asked if they had secretly gone on a date. Ji Fei glanced at Qin Xian. Qin Xian's expression had always been dull, so no one noticed anything wrong at this moment. Ji Fei admired Qin Xian's calmness, but she herself couldn't stand it. After all, she knew so many big melons and really wanted to expose them. Ji Fei couldn't help but roll her eyes and led the topic to the bride. "How is Fan Shi? I saw that she looked bad before." Luo Fei's face flashed with confusion. Maybe she was nervous. She didn't rest well last night. Pregnancy is hard. It's true that those who are involved are confused, but those who are on the sidelines are clear. Facing Fan Shi, Luo Fei's police mind is basically useless. "How many months have you been pregnant?" Ji Fei asked curiously. Almost 4 months. Luo Fei smiled and said, "This child must be a boy. He is very naughty. His mother is always uncomfortable. When he comes out, I will beat him up. Ha ha ha. Luo Fei, I won't say anything." 4 months. Weren't you on a business trip for half a year before? Qin Xian suddenly spoke. Huh, Qin Xian, you found the blind spot. But Qin Xian's words made the whole place quiet. This speaking style is really unlike Qin Xian. After all, Qin Xian usually doesn't care about such things, not to mention that this is really unpleasant to hear. Others looked at Qin Xian in surprise. Are you questioning something? Questioning your good brother for wearing a green hat? If Qi Li had opened his mouth, Luo Fei would have strangled him, but Qin Xian's expression was too indifferent, and he rarely gossiped about private matters, making Luo Fei think that he was just asking. Luo Fei didn't think much, and smiled sweetly. When I was on a business trip, Fan Shi came to see me. I didn't expect it, unexpectedly, ahem. Luo Fei recalled that day with embarrassment and happiness. Fan Shi suddenly appeared at the door. This kind of surprise was something he had never experienced before. Fan Shi hugged him haggardly, crying and saying that she missed him, so she came to see him. Luo Fei's heart melted. There were booing sounds all around. Qin Xian's expression was indifferent, but Ji Fei's heart was flying. You didn't think about it, people came thousands of miles to find you to register their children, and what's more, you haven't touched Fan Shi at all, you have been supporting someone else's girlfriend. The Qin family members who were eavesdropping in the distance almost spit out. What? What? Qin Xian was stunned for a moment. Luo Fei is also stupid. He has been living with his girlfriend for so many years, but he has never done anything. Because Fan Shi resisted instinctively, Luo Fei thought that the warehouse incident had left her with a psychological shadow, so he has been very tolerant of Fan Shi and waited for her to untie the knot. Fan Shi didn't understand why she resisted at first, until Tang Yu appeared. After being hugged by Tang Yu, she had the idea of keeping her chastity for love, and it was even more impossible for her to do anything with Luo Fei. Until she had to register her child, she got Luo Fei drunk and pretended to have sex. The Qin family was stunned. How could it be like this? I really want to start to suspect that Luo Fei is also in love. He thought he was so powerful that he could win the lottery in one go. He didn't even ask if he had any memories of that night. Now that Fan Shi has a child, she can more confidently reject Luo day one. If they really get married, it will really be helping others raise children and raising a wife. At this time, Daywan was still being teased sweetly by his friends. But Qin Xian's phone had already started to vibrate, and messages kept coming in. Warm reminder, if you find that clicking the next page will force you to jump to other websites, please use the chapter error or contact us at the bottom to inform us. We will handle it as soon as possible. Thank you for your understanding. After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Yuze. Chapter 228. The news came so quickly. On the one hand, Qin Xian's men were indeed capable, and on the other hand, Tang Yu had very few contacts after returning to China. He had almost nothing to do, except to coax his girlfriend and her family, and go to the hotel with Fan Shi. This secret of checking in with other women behind his girlfriend's back naturally attracted the attention of the investigators first. After all, the boss said he wanted to investigate, which should be to catch dirt, so all the records of checking in and the surveillance videos were sent over immediately. Hearing the truth from the heart is different from seeing your brother being fooled like this with your own eyes. Qin Xian couldn't help but spit out a foul breath. Ji Fei saw Qin Xian looking at his phone, so he couldn't help but move closer. Although the video was not opened, it was basically clear who it was from the cover. Ji Fei was happy. Great, everything went well. Qin Xian is so smart, he should have thought of it. Qin Xian put away the phone and said directly to Luo Fei, I have something to tell you alone. Luo Fei was stunned. Seeing Qin Xian's rare serious expression, although he felt strange in his heart, he still stood up. Others looked at them curiously, asking if they had any little secrets they couldn't tell. Direct ball attack, I hope Luo Fei can bear it later. Although I shouldn't watch other people suffering, I'm really curious about Luo Fei's reaction. It would be nice if I could watch the scene. No matter how thick-skinned Ji Fei is, she is embarrassed to follow at this time. Qin Xian, who was about to get up and leave, paused and still took Ji Fei's hand. Ji Fei was stunned. Together Qin Xian said. Ji Fei immediately followed actively. The other Qin family members watched silently, and they were all nervous at this moment. But soon they were speechless, because the parties had entered the room, and they couldn't hear Ji Fei's inner voice. At this time, Luo Fei frowned slightly. Seeing Qin Xian's serious expression and Ji Fei's embarrassed expression, he had a bad premonition inexplicably. What do you want to tell me? Luo Fei said. Qin Xian didn't hesitate at all, and told the story of what Xuanhuan heard. Luo Fei's expression was directly empty, and he looked at Qin Xian and Ji Fei in amazement. Illegitimate child? Tang Yu? The school bully who bullied Fan Shi in high school? Is he my half-brother? And he's here today. It was the first time that Ji Fei heard Luo Fei's tone so unstable, and it must have been a big blow. Unfortunately, this was just the beginning. Luo Fei's face was very ugly. Looking at the blue veins on his forehead, he must have been trying his best to suppress his emotions. He completely believed Qin Xian's words without any doubt. His father's betrayal of his mother for more than 20 years hit him hard all of a sudden. He didn't care about the hurt he suffered, but he was worried about what kind of blow his mother would suffer if she knew about this. Luo Fei closed his eyes. Qin Xian, Ji Fei, thank you for telling me the truth, but I hope you can keep it secret for the time being, and I will find a chance to deal with it later. Luo Fei said exhaustedly, and then heard Qin Xian say, the point I want to tell you is not this matter. Luo Fei was stunned, looking at Qin Xian in disbelief. The matter of the illegitimate child is not the point. Is there anything worse than this? Ji Fei couldn't help but say, be prepared. Luo Fei was terrified. Qin Xian took out his mobile phone and operated it. Luo Fei's mobile phone vibrated and several videos were sent to him. Qin Xian made an excuse. I was worried that he had some conspiracy, so I asked someone to investigate it briefly. I didn't expect to find something more important. Otherwise, I wouldn't choose this time to tell you about the illegitimate child. In fact, Luo Fei also thought it was very strange. The matter of the illegitimate child can be told at any time, why not wait until the wedding is over? And when he opened his mobile phone in confusion and saw the cover of the video, his pupils suddenly shrank. He immediately clicked on the video. One by one, Luo Fei's eyes began to bloodshot, his whole face turned blue, and even his strong body began to tremble uncontrollably. The mobile phone made a clicking sound in his palm. When he looked up again, his face was full of murderous intent. He actually. Ji Fei was stunned and felt that Luo Fei's reaction was a little wrong. Why don't you say it? Why, the child. Luo Fei was shocked and incoherent. Qin Xian frowned slightly, thinking that Luo Fei was too angry and not calm, so he spoke directly, if you really check the month of the child, you should be able to find out how many months she was pregnant. Maybe it's 1 month different from the month you know, and you can also think about whether you really had sex during that time. Luo Fei was shaken. He was not stupid, and naturally remembered those abnormalities, so the child was not his. It was Fan Shi who was pregnant with her half-brother's child and came to him to make amends. Qin Xian also said the information he had obtained from Ji Fei's heart in his own analytical tone. I think he should know that Fan Shi is pregnant. Maybe he just wants to snatch the family property from you. If he doesn't inherit it, it will be inherited by his child in the future. No man can tolerate such an insult. Luo Fei's eyes were already wide open. Ji Fei looked at Luo Fei carefully for a while, and couldn't help but say, "Do you want to arrange to cancel the wedding?" Luo Fei seemed to come to his senses suddenly, and suddenly rushed out. Judging from his posture, he had completely lost his mind and wanted to kill someone. Before Ji Fei and Qin Xian could react, Luo Fei disappeared. I thought Luo Fei would handle it secretly for the sake of his face. Is he going to beat someone up? Are the scumbags and bitches going to be exposed? Ji Fei suddenly got excited and hurriedly pulled Qin Xian out to watch the fun. When they just came out, they heard a commotion. From a distance, they saw Luo Fei had already knocked Tang Yu to the ground with one punch on the lawn. Tang Yu's teeth were knocked out directly, and the corners of his mouth were bloody. He was stunned. Before he could react, Luo Fei had already grabbed Tang Yu's collar and punched him again and again, almost smashing him. The fierce people around him exclaimed. Luo's father was shocked and called for people to stop him. But the first person to react and rush forward was Wu Xingqing, so Luo Fei only threw 3 punches before being blocked. Luo Fei couldn't hit a woman even if he lost control again. "Get out of the way. Mr. Luo, what are you doing? We are here to attend your wedding. Why do you beat people?" Wu Xingqing's eyes turned red with anger, but she didn't give in to Luo Fei and protected her boyfriend. "It has nothing to do with you. Get out of the way," Luo Fei said angrily. Are you still a policeman? How can you be so violent and unreasonable?" Wu Xingqing didn't give in at all. Other people also stepped forward to pull Luo Fei away at this time. Mother Luo supported the panting Luo Fei. "Luo Fei, what are you doing?" Father Luo looked at Tang Yu anxiously. Seeing that he was injured but not fainted, he was relieved and glared at Luo Fei. "What are you doing at your wedding, beating guests?" Luo Fei looked at his father, his expression became even uglier. "Guest? You said he was a guest." He pointed at Tang Yu angrily, and was about to say something when he heard someone calling him from the balcony on the 2nd floor. Luo Fei turned around and saw Fan Shi with a pale face and tears in her eyes. Being far away, Luo Fei actually didn't know who Fan Shi was looking at. But he swallowed a lot of words, just looked at Luo's father coldly with an obviously unnatural expression and said, "Dad, is this the guest you invited? I don't welcome it." Luo Fei, Luo's mother was shocked. When did her son become like this? Luo Fei gritted his teeth and said to Luo's mother, "Mom, you probably forgot that he was the school bully who fought with me in high school. He used to bully Fan Shi." Ji Fei and Qin Xian, who followed, were suddenly stunned. The two looked at each other, as if something was wrong. Otherwise, deal with it secretly since they have fought. Shouldn't they directly expose the two people's coquettish operations? Is it for the sake of face? Don't want people to know that there is a green grassland above their heads, but if you hide it like this, how can you cancel the wedding? Qin Xian frowned slightly, and was a little unsure of Luo Fei's approach. The Qin family was watching the fight, and they also felt strange when they heard this. Is it for the sake of face to conceal Fan Shi's affairs? Oh my god, how can you still think like that, Luo Fei? You are such a wrong person, and it is not unfair at all. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After The Wife of a Wealthy Family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 229. The Qin family didn't know why Ji Fei sighed like this. Anyway, Ji Fei seemed to be laughing out of anger from what he was saying. But here, because of Luo Fei's exposure, everyone around him took a breath and looked at Tang Yu with strange eyes. Really or not? Is it the school bully? But they don't look alike. There are also some high school classmates here, and they naturally recall Tang Yu back then. Luo's father exhaled. He thought Luo Fei had discovered something just now, but it turned out that he found out that Tang Yu was the person who fought with him in high school. What nonsense are you talking about? Wu Xingqing said in shock. How could her boyfriend be such a low-level person? You got the wrong person. Miss Wu, your boyfriend's name is Tang Yu, right? Has he had plastic surgery? Wu Xingqing was stunned. Tang Yu had indeed had plastic surgery. She had also seen Tang Yu's previous photos, but the reason given to her was that he had been in a car accident. That was when he bullied his classmates and I hurt his face. He was expelled from the school and then went abroad for plastic surgery. When Luo Fei said this, he looked at Tang Yu coldly and said, "How can you have the courage, how dare you appear before us again?" Luo Fei had never really hated someone so much. The fist still didn't loosen, as if he could pounce on him and hit him again at any time. At this moment, Qin Xian's other friends also rushed over. "Is he the one who bullied you? How dare you come if I go?" You couldn't help but said. "Even if it is, why would you hit someone at this time?" Luo Fei is a policeman, so it's very unlike him to be so impulsive, Jing Yan said. "Are you afraid that his appearance will scare Fan Shi?" Bai Zioxi asked in confusion. "Then let's find an opportunity to do it secretly," Qi Li said speechlessly. Senting didn't say much and felt that Luo Fei was impulsive. At this moment, Qin Xian knew something was wrong. According to Luo Fei's character, if Fan Shi and Tang Yu are found to be cheating on each other, the first reaction should be to ask Fan Shi and question her about what she means. The second step is to beat the person. But Luo Fei's first reaction was to kill Tang Yu, just like the last fight in high school, because at that time Luo Fei discovered that Tang Yu had imprisoned Fan Shi and had evil intentions, so he almost beat him to death. He will beat people beyond recognition. After thinking about it, Qin Xian suddenly felt very speechless. The Qin family members on the side also gathered around Qin Xian and Jifei. They couldn't bear their curiosity and couldn't help but ask Qin Xian. "Second brother, what do you think, brother Luo?" Qin Chao couldn't help but ask. There is no need for Qin Xian to answer, because Jifei has already turned on the complaint mode, because it is really worth complaining about. "What do you think?" It can only be said that all enemies have a kind heart and will not assume the worst about others. Forget it, I can't think so. I can only say that the impression that Fan Shi usually gives is too deceptive. He was a complete victim in high school and never expressed his feelings for Tang Yu later. We showed him the surveillance video, it also misled him. Qin family, monitoring. What kind? Qin Xian remembered that in those videos, it seemed that Tang Yu was pulling hard, while Fan Shi was burying his head and unwilling, and even occasionally struggled. If a normal person looks at it, it is very likely that Fan Shi has something in Tang Yu's hands, so he was coerced into the hotel room. If it weren't for me, I probably would have believed that Fan Shi was the victim after all. Fan Shi really didn't want to refuse, but she really felt that it was wrong. She didn't want to cheat on Luo Fei as his girlfriend. It's just that she has never been able to reject her sweetheart. She is struggling and painful inside, but she is irresistible. Therefore, on the surface of the surveillance, her behavior appeared to be completely threatened. Even if the police came to observe her behavior and expression, they would think so. In fact, there is no basis for the truth at all. The Qin family suddenly realized this. Qin Xian sighed silently. He is a policeman. He has seen too many girls encounter such incidents. Most of them still choose to be forced to endure it. In addition, Fan Shi's usual behavior is awkward and dazed, completely like an innocent victim, so he just gave. When he was watching the surveillance video, he murmured to himself, "Why didn't you tell him?" This meant that Fan Shi was obviously being coerced and hurt, so why didn't you tell him? Qin family, this is so damn logical. After all, Fan Shi's temperament is indeed weak, and he is the type that is easiest to control, so all speculations are logical. Qin Xian guessed that Luo Fei must have thought that Tang Yu had something in his hands, such as videos and photos, so Fan Shi would always compromise and cooperate. As for the child, he only remembered that Fan Shi hugged him that night. He had some impression but not much, so he was not sure whether his body could react in the state at that time, so he defaulted to reacting. The result was clear to him at this moment. It was Fan Shi who set him up, and he never touched Fan Shi from beginning to end, but he did not doubt Fan Shi's original intention of leaving the child and deceiving him. Qin family, don't you doubt this? Qin Xian, because Fan Shi once wanted to abort the child. Because Fan Shi has always been insecure and wants a safe harbor, she is reluctant to let go of her children if she wants them, and such people have wanted to abort their children. In Luo Fei's opinion, this is Fan Shi's fault. Struggled and painful, although he still blamed Fan Shi for not telling her, he couldn't bear to hate her betrayal. Qin family members, so I just rushed over and beat someone up. This is really a big misunderstanding. So will the wedding go ahead? Do you really want to endure this tone? Luo Fei is really willing to be this big wronged? But think about it from another perspective. If your true love suffers such persecution, should you despise her, abandon her and resent her? This is probably a question mark in many people's minds. But they really can't stand it when they know the truth. Qin Xian already feels that this is a very likely development trend. After all, Luo Fei has given a reason for beating people. It's not an illegitimate child, nor is it coercing Fan Shi, but just the old grudge that makes people complain. Luo Fei is really miserable. He dare not let Luo's mother know about the illegitimate child because Luo's mother is in poor health and is afraid that Luo's mother will be stimulated. He also mistakenly thought that his lover was a victim, so he dared not expose the fact that he was cuckolded and almost became a cheap father, for fear that Fan Shi's temper could not bear the blow and would not survive, not to mention that this occasion is related to the face of the two families, so he can only swallow the frustration in his stomach and come out to beat people to vent his anger. At most he will lose face. The Qin family listened to the frustration. If Fan Shi is really like what Luo Fei thought, they are a couple that deserves sympathy. Luo Fei is also a real man. He suppressed his anger and tried his best to protect his girlfriend. It's a pity that his sincere heart was met with ruthless people. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbspeed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix. After the wife of a wealthy family was read by her mind, the melon field was full of wild animals. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 230. Qin Xian frowned and was in a very bad mood. Qin family, they can't laugh at a kind person's stupidity, they can only call disgusting people ugly. But because Tang Yu's identity was exposed here, Wu Xinqing was completely dumbfounded. Her moral sense is very demanding, and she is completely unable to accept that her boyfriend was once a school bully. Tang Yu, is what he said true? Wu Xinqing looked at Tang Yu in shock. Tang Yu was supported by Wu Xinqing. He was embarrassed and angry after being beaten, but he was still confused when he realized it. Although he came to attend the wedding arrogantly, he had no intention of exposing himself in front of Luo Fei. He just came to enjoy and laugh at Luo Fei's clown-like wedding. His face was completely different from before. Even if his name was the same, he didn't think Luo Fei would guess who he was. Damn it, how did Luo Fei know? Could it be that bitch Fan Shi betrayed him? No way, that idiot of hers. Tang Yu didn't dare to act rashly. Facing Wu Xinqing's questioning, he knew that he couldn't lie on this point. He could only stand up with a grimace and said, yes, what he said is true. At that time, I was young and naive, so I wanted to do something to cause trouble. The attention of my loved ones is that I don't really want to be a bad person. After saying that, he bowed to Luo Fei and said, I came to the wedding this time because I wanted to witness whether the people I wronged were happy. If I have the chance, I would like to solemnly apologize to you. It was all me. I have completely repented of my mistake. The face you hit me to the point of plastic surgery is also my punishment. I hope you can forgive me for the mistakes I made in the past. Although Wu Xingqing was still shocked when she heard what Tang Yu said, she didn't immediately dislike Tang Yu. After all, Wu Xingqing didn't know how powerful Tang Yu was at school. The guests who didn't know the truth couldn't help but started talking when they saw Tang Yu's sincere performance. If you come here specially, you must be sincere. Recognizing mistakes can greatly improve things. Who didn't make mistakes when they were young? Boys in adolescence fight and make trouble. The prodigal son can't exchange for gold when he comes back. But at this moment, Luo Fei was so angry that he rushed over again, waving his fists to hit people. Everyone did not expect that everyone would apologize sincerely, but Luo Fei became even more angry and immediately disliked Luo Fei's behavior. The others couldn't hold Luo Fei back, so Luo Fei punched Tang Yu. This fist was harder than before, as if he wanted to beat the person to death. Haha, if Luo Fei didn't know anything, he would probably be deceived by you now. If he tells such a disgusting lie in front of Luo Fei, he deserves to be beaten to death. Tang Yu was also frightened by Luo Fei's almost murderous aura, and his legs softened and he fell down, allowing him to avoid the punch coming towards him. When Luo Fei wanted to catch up, Fan Shi's voice appeared again. Luo Fei, stop fighting! A crying, trembling voice came. Luo Fei stopped suddenly, turned around, and saw Fan Shi had come downstairs and stood at the door. Her hair had been let down and she was wearing a simple red robe. She didn't have time to change to her next wedding dress, so she dressed up like this. At this moment, Fan Shi was holding the door with both hands, as if she was unsteady on her feet, trembling, and a gust of wind might knock her down. Normally, Ji Fei would feel pity for a girl like this, but at this moment, she felt goosebumps all over her body. It's not that Fan Shi is acting, it's just that everything she's showing now is true, which makes people extremely uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable before, but now I feel distressed and run down to protect the adulterer. Ho ho ho, I guessed wrong. Sure enough, Dianpo's psychology was difficult to guess. She actually thought that the matter had been exposed and Tang Yu was willing to take her away, so the two started fighting. She ran down, intending to apologize to Luo Fei and then leave. When the Qin family heard this, they looked at Fan Shi as if they were looking at garbage. At this time, Luo's mother actively ran over to help Fan Shi, because she saw that Fan Shi's face was very bad. Although she didn't like Fan Shi based on the mentality of a wealthy family, she had a child after all, so Luo's mother could be regarded as a mother-in-law. He stepped forward to explain his responsibility, and asked Fan Shi to go back and rest, and ignore the things here. As a result, Fan Shi's expression changed after listening to it. It was probably different from what she expected. At this moment, she could only look at this place infatuatedly, but she did not express her sincerity. Let me go. Fan Shi still regards Tang Yu's choice as his first choice, and Luo Fei will always be a backup. Luo Fei thought that Fan Shi was afraid that Tang Yu would leak out the information, so he was afraid of offending Tang Yu, so he endured the fear and came out to stop him. Well, you are very good at figuring things out. I won't say any more. The Qin family felt helpless when they heard this. Regarding the previous illegitimate child and the affair, Luo Fei could still be told the truth based on the evidence Qin Xian caught and the conversations he heard. Luo Fei also wanted to believe it. But at this moment, as to whether Fan Shi was voluntary or forced, unless the person involved admitted that he was committing a crime, there would be no way for Luo Fei to change his mind. This was the most troublesome thing. Even if Qin Xian suddenly goes over and tells Luo Fei that your lovely girlfriend is just a bitch and likes Tang Yu to treat her like that, you don't need to sympathize with her at all. I guess even the brothers don't have to do it. It's not that Luo Fei is in love, he values sex over friends, it's because they have been together for so many years. It can be said that the length of their friendship is similar to that of brotherhood. How could Luo Fei think of him like that just because of Qin Xian's words and without evidence? Where is your lover? So, no solution. It was because they took it too much for granted at first. Now we can only wait and see what happens. Luo Fei did not take action again, but squatted down and stared at Tang Yu with an ugly face. I'm warning you, you'd better not do anything unnecessary, otherwise I won't let you go, get out of here. Before Tang Yu could answer, Luo Fei had already stood up and turned to look at Luo's father. Although Luo's father was a little angry, when he saw his son's eyes, he felt a little flustered. Dad, tell your guests to get out of here. Don't cause anything that shouldn't happen, Luo Fei warned pointedly. Luo's father's expression suddenly became uncontrollable. After all, Luo Fei's behavior was too abnormal, and he obviously knew something. It seems that Tang Yu's identity has been exposed. No wonder his son suddenly beat people so violently. Although Luo's father knew that sooner or later it would be exposed, the forced exposure caught people off guard. Fortunately, judging from his son's reaction, he did not intend to say it immediately. There was still room for foreshadowing. After all, he did not want the matter to get too messy. It's ugly, but he also wants to lose face. Luo's father coughed and could only say to Luo Fei, if anything happens on this big day, we'll talk about it later. This is considered the default. Luo Fei gritted his back molars, held back all his anger, and turned around to leave. Tang Yu was also stunned for a moment. He raised his head and met his father's gaze. Tang Yu suddenly understood that the illegitimate child had been exposed. Tang Yu also breathed a sigh of relief now. He had almost suspected that Fan Shi had told what happened between the two of them. Humph, as long as he didn't say anything, it would still be his winning side. Luo Fei would still have to be a clown, raising women and children for him. Tang Yu stood up, his head still dizzy, and his mouth smelled of blood. As soon as he turned his head, he met Wu Xingqing's scrutinizing gaze. Ching Ching, I. Wu Xingqing was about to frown when she heard Luo's father said awkwardly, my boy is impulsive and I can't forgive you too. Why don't you go to the resting place with the housekeeper first and take care of the wound? In fact, Luo's father didn't feel sorry for Tang Yu. He planned to let Tang Yu leave directly to avoid irritating Luo Fei. But seeing Wu Xingqing's reaction, he had to show off to prevent this illegitimate son from losing such a good girlfriend. As long as he behaves kindly, he will downplay the conflict between Luo Fei and Tang Yu and prevent Wu Xingqing from taking the matter seriously. In the end, Wu Xingqing helped Tang Yu treat the wound. Faced with Wu Xingqing, who was cold and even wanted to go out alone, Tang Yu gradually became angry, and the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. He felt that it was all Luo Fei's fault for ruining his plan and embarrassing him in front of so many guests. Those dark histories should not have appeared in the first place. After the wound was treated, he thought viciously that he must find another opportunity to take revenge. At this moment, the phone vibrated. When I took it out, my eyes were filled with a mocking and contemptuous smile. On the other side, because Qin Xian and Ji Fei knew the truth, they followed Luo Fei to find Fan Shi. Luo Fei did not stop them, but just asked them to guard the door and not let others get close. Because he wanted to make it clear to Fan Shi that these things must not be known to others. Qin Xian and Ji Fei could only hesitate to speak, but they were also very curious. Once Luo Fei made it clear, did Fan Shi still have a conscience, and would he continue to conceal the deception? If Fan Shi admits it, everything will be easily solved. If she still wanted to pretend to be a victim, she would have to find a way to expose everything. At this time, Wu Xingqing, who was upset, wanted to find someone to ask about Tang Yu's past, but she found a mobile phone on the grass just now. She seemed to remember that Luo Fei had left it behind when he beat someone up, and she didn't want to. I would look at other people's mobile phones, so I looked for someone to return them. I didn't find Luo Fei, but I saw Luo Mu. Window. Tabula equals window. Tabula. Tabula.push, mode, thumbs feed -01, container, tabula below article thumbnail -300x250, placement, below article thumbnail -300x250, target. Type, mix.